Good afternoon. Welcome to Fit Chat, Chit Chat. I'm your hostess, Devondrea Sanchez, also known as the Fit Therapist, founder, owner, and client of Finding Inner Transformation, where we believe a fit mindset is more than the physical, but it is spiritual, it is emotional, mental, and all encompassing. So thank you for jumping on today. I am so excited because it has been over a month and a half since I've done a Fit Chat. And so I'm happy to be here. It is not because things are not happening. I think it's been the counter opposite, is because a lot of things have been happening. So I just want to shout out for today. And this month is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month and Prevention. And also, did you know that it is also Bullying Prevention Month? Why would those two be in the same month? Why would Domestic Violence Prevention and Bully Awareness Month be in the same month? Makes you think. I'm not here talking about that, but maybe I'll circle back around next week or the end of this month and talk a little bit about the contrast and the similarities between bullying and domestic violence. But that's another time. For those who are in the Kings County area, I will be presenting on Thursday about domestic violence and how we can be more prepared and aware and how we can take care of ourselves. With that being said, while you are here, do you race undertrained? Well, so I have a race coming up, Twin Cities out of Clovis, November 6th. So that's a half marathon for those who are unaware. That is 13.1 miles. I ran this same race last year in a whole different mindset and physical conditioning. Yes, I probably was at least about 8 pounds lighter, definitely maybe even 10 by the time I hit race day. And I had trained extensively for 12 solid weeks, which is normally where I like to be at, is about 12 weeks. Some people prefer 16 weeks to start preparing for a race. Some people who never ran at all feel the need to prepare for like 20 weeks, whatever that is for you. Last year, I had not ran prior to that for 6 years, and I do consider myself a competitive runner. So in 2015, when I ran it, I came in second place female. Last year, I came in sixth place female, which I was super proud of because my time was really good. It was actually a lot shorter than what I thought it would be. I think I came in 134. Sounds about right. 134, 135 maybe. And when I came in 2015, I'm sorry, I ran one in 2017. I take that back. 2015 came in second place female. 2017, I came in with a time of 140. So I don't even think I placed very high. And then last year, I placed in 134, 135 time frame. I don't know what I'm going to be the time frame. I did a 10 miler on Saturday, and I definitely was running a mid 9:25 minute mile pace, which is usually significantly slower than I would normally run. During 2 weeks out from a race, I would normally be in the late sevens, preparing to run race day in the low sevens. With that being said, I am a little bit behind that curve, but that's okay. I'm still showing up. Because I have not trained over the last 12 weeks, I consider myself undertrained. Here's the difference though. If you have never been a runner and you decide to get up one day and run a race, untrained, hear me out, that will and can cause significant pain and injury to your lower limbs. And if your lower limbs are impacted, then your hips and your lower back probably be impacted. And if your lower back's impacted, then probably all the way up to your shoulders. And I say that because it's all connected. It's all interconnected. So how you stride, how you pronate all matters when you are talking about running a race. However, let's start with a 5K. If someone said, I just got off the couch, But I walk around a little bit unintentionally, like for work. I get up, I go, I get dressed, I drop my kids off, take them to practices. And they said, I've never run a 5K and there's a 5K in 2 weeks. Should I walk it or run it? I would say yes. There may be some people that go against me on that, but if the average person walks anywhere between 1.5 miles to 2 miles a day, like not trying, to run another or walk another 1.5 miles or another mile is not going to highly impact you, because what you fail to realize is most runners don't train to the race amount. I have ran, I don't even know how many marathons, and I've never ran 26.2 miles to prepare for a 26.2 mile race. I usually train to 20, maybe 22 miles. That last 4 miles or the last 6 miles is all mental. Yes, can my physical body now endure the conditioning to run that long? Absolutely. But I have yet to meet an experienced runner who trains the longevity of the race to prepare for the race. So if I run a half marathon, I always run 10 to 11 miles because I know those last 2 to 3 miles are all mental. So if you have never walked a 5K, which is 3.1 miles, and you decide, you know what, I want to do one in 2 weeks and walk one, I would tell you absolutely. Would you be considered undertrained? I don't know, but I would tell you that it's not going to make significant difference if you're already. Now, you just came out of surgery, you haven't moved your body at all other than go to the bathroom and come back and be bedridden. I probably wouldn't suggest it unless you're prepared to deal with some aches and pains after. For myself, I am undertrained in the amount of miles that I normally put in, but I'm still running the race. Did I do a 10 miler last Saturday? Yes, I did. It took me an hour and a half. Normally, I complete the full half marathon in that time. So I'm definitely about 30 minutes behind what I normally would, but I'm still going to run it. Was my body under some pain on Saturday? A little bit, but it's kind of conditioned. And so if you're already a conditioned runner or walker, because shout out to my aunt who is 70, y'all, and she will be walking the full half marathon. So for y'all young people out there saying you can't do it, tisk tisk, tisk tisk is all I can say. What questions do you have about walking or running if you feel undertrained? Put them in the chat. If you're watching this in a recording, still put it in the chat and I'll circle back around. Is there huge discrepancy between undertrained and overtrained? Somewhat. Some people say I'd rather go undertrained than overtrained. Overtrained, you are more susceptible, I would tell you, to injury and pulling something, and mentally and emotionally not feeling prepared or being able to kind of like process those emotions of guilt for overtraining. But I would tell you, you are more prone to getting injured before race day if you overtrain. If you're undertrained, more than likely your impact is going to happen post race. What do you think is undertrained? That's also something to consider, because sometimes I would do Hal Higdon's training program. Shout out to Hal Higdon. He does a free training program. So if you're interested in starting something, he does like a 16-week or 12-week training program for whatever distance you're trying to run or walk. And he does highlight if you're a novice or an advanced runner or intermediate. So there's several different schedules. You don't feel like you have to compete with someone else. And I think that's the beautiful thing in deciding the race. Even being a competitive runner, and I know that I'm going to like try to win or place, it's still about my PR. Did I do better than the last time? Is my PR better? Is this my PR? Right now, I have not broken my PR for Boston Marathon. I mean, that's something I absolutely adore that I had the opportunity to do, that God allowed me, my body to qualify and then run it, and then that to be my PR. I don't have any motivation at the current moment and haven't had it in several years about running a full marathon again. And for those of you who want to run a marathon, I would tell you, and this is just my recommendation, is to go straight to the marathon. Don't do the half first. Almost everybody that I talked to who did the half felt like I don't have what it takes to go to the full. But if you do the full first, it's much easier to drop down to the half. That's just my recommendation. Yes, it's a lot longer. And yes, it takes some mental fortitude and some emotional regulation, because I had kind of like a love hate every time I trained for a full marathon, but then I would sign up for another one. Lately, I did away with halves for a while just to kind of focus on bodybuilding at one point in time in my life. Now I'm kind of getting back into the race game. But I would tell you, I would rather go undertrained than overtrained. That's just a personal thing, personally, because at least when you get up there, you get an opportunity to dig deep mentally to see what your body can do. That is part of it anyway. Whether you train for it and feel properly trained or not, it's your ability to show up race day and believe in yourself that you can actually do it. No, I'm not telling you if you haven't moved a day in your life to go and sign up for a half marathon. This is not that. This is not me telling you that. But what I am telling you is that if you have the desire and you are in, I would say, fair to good health, like there's no ache space, there's no torn knees, meniscus, ACL, none of that going on, then I would tell you to challenge yourself, because a big part of the race is mental. You can talk to almost any runner. Like seriously, when you get out there, I never have trained to race pace a day in my life. But somehow, let's just take last year, I most of my runs were in like 7:30, 7:45 minute miles. But when I get on race day, I'm running like a 7 minute mile or 7:10 minute mile. I never train race day. So what is it about showing up to the race? It is the crowd, it's the adrenaline, it's you convincing yourself you can do it and just push a little bit harder. So do you run under train? You got to really take in consideration, is it realistic what you're asking your body to do? I don't know. I feel like a very active person. So if you're setting your goal to 10,000 steps a day, so depending on your stride, you figure that's about 4 to 5 miles a day, right? So if you are walking 4 to 5 miles or 10,000 steps a day, and you decide to sign up for a 10K, which is 6.1 miles, absolutely you can do it. Absolutely you can do it. Because honestly, those last couple miles is going to be mental. Once you get with other walkers and other joggers and other runners out there, something comes alive in you, at least for me. I don't, I've been through several music marathons. Music really doesn't do me. I like to run my races with nothing on. I train with audio. I train with either listening to a sermon or a podcast or music. But in my races, I want to be in full attunement to my body. And that's important. So for you that like to run races with headphones, you go. But I feel for me, I want to be attuned to everything going on around me. So like I take in nature, I take in the noise, I try to do a body check. And sometimes, and I do a breathing check to make sure I'm breathing. I make sure my shoulders are relaxed, because it's easy if you are amidst of the crowd and all of that, that you don't feel that pain. And for me, I want to be able to get that pain away from me. For me, it usually starts around mile 10 to 11 in a half marathon, because it's just the constant jarring. And I'm very flat foot. I have a very, very low to no arch. So shoes are important. So even if you're overtrained or undertrained, I pray that you have a good pair of running shoes. They are necessary for walking long distance and running. And I would say everyday use, but definitely during a race, because that in itself can cause injury, whether training or untraining. So if you have had those same running or walking shoes for 3 months or 300 miles, it is time to switch out. I'm just doing a plug here. Fleet Feet, go get them to look at your the way you're pronating, the way you're stepping, the way you're landing, and what is a good proper shoe for you, so that you can ensure that you are ready on race day. So I have 2 weeks left. I do not plan on running a anything over a 10 mile. I ran my 10 mile on Saturday. I'm going to probably do a 6 to 8 miler on this Saturday, and that's it. The rest is low. So because I'm a hybrid athlete where I lift and I run, it is important to me the type of lifting I do when I'm in race training. It looks very different than when I'm not. So post race, I plan on going back to doing more lifting and shorter miles. I will never stop running until the Lord takes that away. Otherwise, yes, can you be at risk for pain and injury if you overtrain or undertrain? Absolutely. But I want you to really pay attention when you use the word undertrained. Are you already walking several miles a day, intentionally or unintentionally? Like, let's take, for instance, nurses. They do constant. I was just at one of my early Head Start program. Those teachers don't sit down very rarely. So they're constantly putting in steps. So if they told me I want to sign up for a 5K or a 10K, I would tell them absolutely, even if they didn't intentionally run. Again, personal trainers, run gurus, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. But I have been literally running for 20 plus years now, and I've ran ultra marathons, half marathons. Literally one time I trained for a half marathon and I only ran 11 miles. And the day before the race, when I went to pick up my packet, I upped to a full marathon. The guy told me, "You're crazy." He said, "I'm going to watch you." Do you know that was my second best time that I've done? Will I do that again? No. Just being honest. I literally trained only for a half marathon and up to a full marathon the day before. And I ran it, and it was still my second or third best time at 3:35, 3 hours and 35 minutes. Was I undertrained? Yes. Some people will say, but you've already had those mileage built up. And that would be true. So I wasn't coming from couch to a full marathon. However, yes, the jarring in my body not really being conditioned, I had probably more pain than I probably needed post race, but I still was considered undertrained. So if you were thinking about walking, jogging, or running a 5K, and you said, and the race is in 2 weeks, I would tell you to walk it. Absolutely. And I will also tell you to take care of yourself post race. Maybe that you need to have a good, definitely some electrolytes, definitely take a multivitamin. You might even want to throw in, some good fast acting carbs, and also a Motrin for inflammation. And maybe ice your ankles because you probably will feel it. But other than that, I would absolutely tell you to take a chance and walk, jog, or run if you've already are doing 10K steps a day to do 6.2 miles, 6.1 miles. Now, if you told me I have not been running at all and I want to do a half marathon in 2 weeks, then I would probably tell you, are you prepared to sustain pain or injury? And if you say yes, then walk it. I've known people who've walked a half marathon and did not train for it. You have to know your body, though. You have to know your mental capacity to be able to complete it as well. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but I would tell you a 5K or a 10K. Absolutely. If you already are walking 10K steps a day, because you're already walking 4 to 5 miles and the rest is going to be mental. So with that being said, I do want to give some quick stats that I just read. There is a study that happened, neurology study, that researchers found that walking more, accumulating up to 10K a day, was linked to a reduction of the occurrence of cardiovascular disease, to include heart disease, stroke, and heart failure. 13 types of cancer and dementia. And both studies were very large studies. They were almost 80,000 participants. So they monitored their steps over a course of 7 years, and they showed that this study achieved by taking fewer steps. For instance, walking about 10,000 steps were found to lower the risk of dementia. So we do know, especially in the world of mental health, that with 5 minutes of moderate exercise, you start activating those feel-good hormones. You start reducing the depressive and anxiety feelings because now you're not operating from those chemicals. You're operating from our feel good chemicals, such as oxytocin, when we feel close and when we're doing something that we really are connected to. Dopamine and adrenaline is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing when we are exerting it the right way. It's a bad thing when it just sits in our bodies and we're not doing anything, kind of like anxiety or a threat or survival mode kind of like keeps us. So we can reduce anxiety and depression when we participate in exercise. Remember, exercise doesn't have to be this long drawn out 30 to 50-minute regimen at the gym. It can look like 10 minutes. It can look like getting up 5 minutes, walking around your building at the top of the hour over an 8-hour day to give you 40 minutes. I used to do that when I worked with the county. Every time I would try to get up and walk around the building, skirt, I would keep my tennis shoes underneath my desk and lend in an opportunity. It may look like getting up and down at your desk and doing squats, doing wall push-ups. It may look like arm rolls, right? It may look like, stretching your hips and moving about. It may look like marching in place. Whatever it is, your body's just looking for movement. And now there's so much research attached to not only decreasing mental health symptoms, but also just as I just shared about research about, reducing, dementia and heart disease and stroke. And so if you don't do anything else, involve yourself into 15 to 20 minutes of exercise, even if you have to break it up. And so it showed that dementia risk, 25% in people who walked fewer than 3,800 steps a day. But if you were over 9,800 steps, it went by 50% of reducing dementia. So I don't know about you, but if you're going to be living, you might want to be in your right mind. I'm just saying, just walk. If running is not for you, I get a lot of people say, I don't know, I can't run. Don't run. Running has its taxing elements on the knees and the body over time. I truly have been blessed and been not only injury free, but actually feel amazing after a run. And so that's nothing but the Lord. So I thank him for that. And then remember, exercise is the one thing you don't have to titrate up or down, unlike medication, right? So why wouldn't we give ourselves the gift of walking or running or exercising, whatever feels good to your body? Don't do it because someone else is doing. Do it because you truly do desire to walk or participating in a race or exercise or join a gym or whatever that looks like. Because if not, you won't sustain it as a lifestyle. It'll just be the one thing that you're paying on again that you're not utilizing. And so, do you run or walk undertrained? It's up to you. Are you prepared to sustain the outcome? That has to be up to you as well. I'm going to run this race even undertrained in this schedule, but my body is conditioned. So let me put the disclaimer out. I do run a few times a week. So it's not like I'm going from bedridden to running this race in a couple weeks. I don't know what it's going to look like. So stay tuned. Last year, I was amazed at my time. I was thankful. I was in tip-top shape to run it this year. I'm going to be very honest with myself and y'all. I'm not in tip-top shape. However, I look forward to how this outcome and the result will be because I'm showing up. And that's probably, I will go ahead and say that's the biggest part is being able to show up. And my mind is set on completing it. And so what the result will look like, I will be just as surprised. So stay tuned to my results of my half. I hope to be on here before November 6th, but if not, I will definitely do a follow-up to what my, not necessarily what our place, but what my time was comparison to last year and what I learned during this process of being undertrained and not in the best shape to run it. And the one thing I will say this last thing, the one thing I absolutely love about runners is that you see all bodies show up, all bodies. I think it is something universal when people can actually connect with themselves and move their body. And so you will see people who are larger bodies, small bodies, super in shape. You see people out there with the dogs, if it allows it. You will see people who will finish in 7 hours when the course closes, and you will see people finish in, 1 hour and 15 minutes, 1 hour and 20 minutes for a half marathon. So blessings to all of the walkers, runners, and joggers who will be participating. I just want to give Twin Cities a shout out. Hold on. Two cities. Sorry. Twin Cities. I think that is Minnesota. Anyway, two cities, Clovis, a shout out. They have an amazing pre-race pickup. They give all sorts of goodies, and they have an amazing post-race. They do a breakfast. They do free beer if you're into that. They do sweaters, shirts, hats. They give you, they have stretchers out there. They have physical therapists. They have so many things. And I'm going to go ahead and safely say they are better than Boston. Boston Child gave you a piece of foil and a banana, get your medal, and you go home. They have a full celebration. So if you have not registered for the two cities, it is not too late. If you want to challenge yourself, even if you feel like you're undertrained, I would tell you consider the 10K or consider a group. I think they do for the half, I believe they do a group, and just challenge yourself. If not this race, I would tell people who are located in the Tri-City of Fresno County, Tulare County, and Kings County, United Way does a turkey trot first thing in the morning on Thanksgiving Day. It is a 5K. You can even bring your pups, if that's, or cats, whatever people do. Whatever people put a leash on, you can bring them. And it's a perfect race. They do a swag bag. They give out goodies, and they give medals to the top 20 finishers for male and female. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So, all right. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you're moving your bodies, challenge yourself, put it in your phones, put your workout gear the night before, like I do. I still do, even though I've been doing it for 20 plus years, probably 24 years now. Still, give yourself the best opportunity to be successful if you do decide to race or challenge yourself in any type of exercise regimen. But pay attention if you are super significantly undertrained and overtrained. Those can be a problem to cause pain and injury, and you don't want that. So I'm not saying go out there and just run a race or walk a race super undertrained. I'm saying if you're already walking 1 to 2 miles, which is the average American, it would not hurt you to run a 5K or walk a 5K. If you're already doing 10,000 steps a day, that's 4 to 5 miles, depending on your stride. Absolutely wouldn't hurt you to do a 10K, even if you didn't do a scheduled regimen. Hal Higdon has a training program. I'm just kind of giving an overview that you can download for free and set yourself up. But wherever you're at in the world, there's always races, usually within driving distance. So, all right, take care. Hopefully this helps someone. If you're watching this post and you have a question, put it in the chat. But I am going to be there November 6th, first thing in the morning, super cold and all, at the Two Cities half marathon here in Clovis. God bless you. Take care. And hopefully you have a race scheduled. Let us know. Take care. Bye.